through. There's pictures of him as a little infant. You can't even tell it's him or not. But the people that were there and cherished Joseph, they go, oh, look at him with his brothers. So just try and imagine these black and white pictures going into early color as they are traveling overseas, and we're trying to make these pictures look okay on a big screen. It's a short story of just a few of the highlights of what we wanted to try and capture today. And in introducing it, I wanted to refer to another story. Joseph, before he passed in his last year, he came upstairs to where we live in the same house and surprised me. He asked to borrow some of my books, and usually he's the one recommending books to read off of his shelf. And he says, you know, I've read all my books, and I want to read something I haven't read before. And so I start firing off like stuff with the Inklings, Dorothy Sayers, Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, like a pile of C.S. Lewis, that I was just reading it all, and he was voracious. He came back with the stack and said, thank you very much. That was good. And so I just want to read you two thoughts from C.S. Lewis and his writings, and encourage you to do what Joseph did and do a deeper dive. At the end of the Chronicles of Narnia, if you recall the scene, there's the final page. I just want to read part of that to you. And Aslan says, "You do not yet look so happy as I mean you to be." Lucy said, "We're so afraid of being sent away, Aslan. And you have sent us back into our own world so often." "No fear of that," said Aslan. "Have you not guessed?" Their hearts leaped and a wild hope rose within them. "There was a real railway accident," said Aslan softly. "Your father and mother and all of you, or as you used to call it in the Shadowlands, dead. The term is over. The holidays have begun. The dream has ended. This is the morning." And as he spoke, he no longer looked to them like a lion. But the things that began to happen after that were so great and beautiful that I cannot write them. And for us, the end of all the stories, and I want to point to the slideshow when I say that, and we can most truly say that they lived happily ever after. But for them, it was only the beginning of the real story. All their life in this world and all their adventures in Narnia had only been the cover and the title page. Now at last, they were beginning chapter 1 of the great story which no one on earth has read, which goes on forever, in which every chapter is better than the one before. The end. It's like, read it again, Mommy. We just did 7 Chronicles. Go to bed. Awesome way to end a series. C.S. Lewis wrote another book called The Problem of Pain. And it's one I've quoted before when I've talked about my own health challenges. But there's a part in there, it's quite philosophical, where C.S. Lewis has been thinking, even as an atheist, before he became a Christian. Why do you have desires? What are we longing for, really? And he was convicted that the things we desire, once we get them, don't truly fulfill the way they thought it would fulfill. And so we have more desires and stronger desires, and we start chasing our urges and longings. And he came to this conclusion that the reason we have such desires is because they are pointing us that our desire can only be met in God.
Mm-hmm.
And what a wonderful way to see that in our struggles with our desires sometimes, or confusion with our desires, or wrestling with them. All that is meant to dissatisfy us with this short little dream and wake us up to the greater story that God is writing for our lives, our destiny with Him. Anyways, Lewis says it better. He writes, "There have been times when I think we do not desire heaven, but more often I find myself wondering if we have ever desired anything else. All the things that have deeply possessed your soul have been but hints of it. Tantalizing glimpses, promises never quite fulfilled, echoes that died away just as they caught your ear. But if it should really become manifest, if there ever came an echo that did not die away but swelled into the sound itself, you would know it. Beyond all possibility of doubt, you would say, 'Here at last is the thing I was made for.' It is the secret signature of each soul, the incommunicable and inappeasable want, the thing we desired before we met our wives or made our friends or chose our work, and which we shall still desire on our deathbeds when the mind no longer knows wife or friend or work. While we are, this is. If we lose this, we lose all." And I'm not even going to try and preach after that. So enjoy the slideshow. There's so much rich metaphor.